I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Supervisor Foy. Here. Supervisor Parks. Here. Supervisor Long.
Here.
Supervisor Zaragoza.
Here.
And Supervisor Bennett.
Here. And Brian, would you like to lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes, please. All rise. Hand over heart. Begin.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have the minutes of March 25th for approval. We have a motion and a second. And we're ready to vote. And the minutes have been approved and another controversial vote. Agenda review, Mr. Powers.
Thank you, Chair Bennett. A few items. Item 14, Healthcare Agency Agreement with Tradition Psychology Group. A revised board letter and Exhibit 1 have been submitted, distributed, and posted. As a result of the revised board letter and Exhibit 1, page 4 of the agenda was also revised to reflect changing the title from a Second Amendment to an agreement and changing the maximum contract amount from $2,541,000 to $2,819,000.
That's item 14.
That's item 14. On item 19, unscheduled vacancy, notices for the Piru Cemetery District and Behavioral Health Advisory Committee. A comment letter has been submitted by Teresa Jordan. Item 22, resource management, presentation on new Ventura County Citizen Access System. A comment letter has been submitted by Teresa Jordan. Item 25, Public Works Agency, public hearing regarding the purchase of real property in Simi Valley. A comment letter has been submitted by Teresa Jordan. The comment letters have been distributed and posted. Item 35, County Executive Office, approval of the Empower Agreement with Santa Barbara County for Southern California Gas and California Energy Commission pass-through funding. Request that item be continued. See, I'm trying to help you out here. And that was, that was 35. Yeah. And finally, there's an addendum agenda, item 37, Animal Services Department, Adopt a Pet presentation. Requires that this be heard following, request this be heard following consent agenda.
Great.
And that's it.
Yeah. So we're going to move item 37, who are the people involved in the consent thing, for after the consent calendar. Board members, any other modifications? If not, we're ready for a motion to approve the agenda as modified. It's been moved and seconded. And we're ready to vote. And that the agenda's been approved. We now, it's a real pleasure for me to introduce Carol Bradley. We've had the opportunity to have another foster parent come, and occasionally we've had that. It truly has been inspirational to hear from him, and I know Elizabeth is back there. So Carol Bradley, would you come down for our moment of inspiration, please? Another great story of another great foster parent here in the county.
Good morning. My name is Carol Bradley, and I am a foster parent. I was born and raised in Ventura County. I have been married to my husband, Steve, for 25 years, and together we have 4 children, and we are currently fostering 2 children. When my job of 17 years ended, I decided that I really wanted to work with children, and a good friend of mine suggested fostering children. I enrolled in the foster parent training courses, and with the support of my family and friends, I became a foster parent in November of 2007. I became a foster parent because I feel that all children deserve a safe and loving home environment. I also feel that being a foster parent is an opportunity to change a child's life. I also feel that being a foster parent, as a foster parent for 7 years, I have had many difficult and painful goodbyes, but I've also been very fortunate to adopt 2 beautiful and amazing little boys. Parker is 5 years old, and he is a very loving boy that is medically fragile and has special needs. My son Mason is a very loving boy that is very active, fun-loving, and he is 3 years old. They are both such a joy, and I am very proud to be their foster mother. I'm sorry, their mother. I also believe that our role as foster parents is to support reunification whenever it is possible. I believe in building positive relationships with birth parents whenever possible. I have had many positive experiences with birth parents, and after reunification, some birth parents have continued a relationship with my family. The support of the foster parents can also, I'm sorry, I'm nervous. The support of the
take your
foster
time.
parents can also help the family succeed in staying together. Foster parenting is challenging and comes with a lot of responsibilities, but the rewards are enormous. Words cannot describe the joy you feel when you help the children in your care reach success, and you know that you have made a difference in their lives. Foster parenting has been one of the biggest commitments I have ever made, and I am very glad that I did make that commitment.
Well, thank you very much. And those children in your lives are very glad you made that commitment also.
Thank you.
But we really do need to hear from our foster parents. We need you out there as role models so that other people become foster parents. But we just have too many children that are not getting the love that they need in a warm home.
I agree.
And so the more we can get the message out, so everybody in the audience here, if you can help us get the message out, we have children waiting to become foster parents. I mean, waiting to become foster
foster
children
yes.
in your home. And hopefully they'll become foster parents when they grow up. But we really appreciate you taking the time to come and inspire us this morning, but more importantly, taking the time to be a foster parent. It's really great for us. Thank you very much,
It's been my
Carol.
pleasure. Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, we now have our consent calendar. Board members, anything on the consent calendar that anybody either wants to discuss or have pulled? All right, so we'll move the consent calendar. And we're ready to vote. Yes, sir.
Do I see Todd here? I just want an item, I know we already approved it, item 13. Todd, I was just asked by one of our constituents why Rubio is going to Canada as opposed to you, and I think Rubio has done a really good job, so you might want to share a little bit about that, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, just as,
I know we
good
approved it
morning,
already.
Todd McNamee, your Director of Airports. So this Jumpstart Conference is one of two conferences a year where we can prearrange sort of 20-minute meetings with a variety of different airlines.
Yeah.
And so as part of our efforts to restore airline service at Oxnard Airport, we attend at least those two meetings.
Yeah.
And Jorge Rubio has been leading that effort for the Department for Air Service Development. He's got airline background.
That's right.
And he's been doing a great job. And he was also almost single-handedly responsible for getting us our Small Community Air Service Development Grant. And so he has the relationships with the route planners, et cetera, with the airlines. And so that's why he's going instead of me. And it just so happens to be in Canada instead of the U.S. this time around.
One of the things I mentioned too, that you're not just doing that, you're doing a multitude of other things, for the airport authority. But I just wanted the public to know why, he was going as opposed to you. But Holt has been doing a really good job, in working with us. But I just want to thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Hey, Todd, I just want to say, it's good leadership, too. You don't always have to do everything. There's a lot of great people out there that are part of your organizations that do it.
I'm very fortunate to have a
Yeah.
very talented staff.
Yeah, a lot of guys think I got to do everything, and that's not great leadership, so good job.
You're absolutely right. It's important, that you have that good staff. So I just wanted this one individual asked me for that, information. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
All right. The consent calendar's been approved. You flashed it up already, right, Brian? Yeah. It was approved unanimously. For those of you who missed it, I just would announce it, but we had outstanding news coverage of an outstanding event at the animal shelter, and that is that for the first 3 months of 2014, the animal shelter has achieved a no-kill status, and congratulations. The minute we're not, my email is flooded, but since we've achieved it and we had that article, I haven't gotten an email from anybody saying congratulations for all the hard work. But that should really be passed on to our staff. It's been an enormous amount of work, and you've really done a great job with that. And so we have our Adopt a Pet moment here that'll be consistent with that, but there is not a county this size that I'm aware of that's achieved no-kill status like this for 3 months. So to Barry Fisher, to Donna, to all of your staff, please pass our appreciation on. I think when we identified that as a goal, we kind of said we want to move that direction, but I don't think we ever thought, that this rapidly you could pull this all off. And we know it's 3 months, and the tougher months are coming ahead in terms of trying to do that, but a great accomplishment. So could you come on down for our Adopt a Pet presentation here?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Bennett, supervisors, Mr. Powers.
You have to identify yourself for the record.
Oh, my apologies. I'm Donna Gillespie, Deputy Director, Ventura County Animal Services.
Great. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you. I'd love to share our pet of the week on our pet parade.
Here we go. Oh, is that a classic name, Buster, for this dog? I mean, that is a Buster dog, if you ever saw it.
He's good looking.
So what can you tell us here?
There we go. I think we
here
have a
go.
video.
It's coming.
And now, from your friends at Animal Services, here's the Pet Parade.
Buster is a big, energetic baby. He is happy to welcome you into his kennel and becomes even happier when he sees he's going on a walk. While he's on the leash, Buster is full of curiosity and innocence, always smelling everything and wanting to be a part of the action. Even though he's about 2 years old, he acts like a sleepy puppy during bath time. Buster would make a great hiking or running companion and would love to spend hours playing fetch with you in your backyard. Visit him at the Ventura County Animal Services Camarillo Adoption Center, located at 600 Aviation Drive. Ask for Buster. Animal ID number A590446.
Ventura County Animal Services Adoption Centers in Camarillo and Simi Valley are open 7 days a week. For more information on the dozens of other animals available for adoption, please visit us at www.vcas.us or call 888-223-PETS.
Thank you. That video doesn't do his head justice. His head is this big. He's a sweet dog, and he's got a lot of energy for 2 years old. He would make a great pet for an active family. We have many more like that, many more like that. So share with everybody to come out to the shelters. And while I have you here, if I may, we have an event coming up. April 19th is our Easter extravaganza at the shelter. Our Bunny Brigade puts on this event. This is the 4th year in a row, and it gets bigger every year. We have face painting, jolly jumps. It's a kids and family event, and we ask that people avoid giving bunnies as Easter gifts and give Pleasure chocolate. Thank you.
Donna, thank you very much for coming down. You must need a lot of volunteers to exercise the Busters that you have.
We
I
do.
mean, Buster cannot sit in a small cage all day, every day, and be a healthy dog. He's got to.
Actually, we've started a canine cardio group for volunteers and for staff. And the people come out and they go through a quick training. They hook up one of these big dogs and they run all around the airport.
That's great.
It gets their exercise, and it doesn't. We're holding them longer, so it keeps their mental stability while they're in the kennels as well.
So that's another opportunity for people to help out, as
Just
they can
another
come out and
opportunity.
volunteer, which would then expose those dogs and to more people and all of that. Do you have enough of those cardio volunteers?
We could always use more.
You could use more.
We could
Great.
use more.
All
I mean,
right.
it's a goal to get all the dogs out of the kennel once a day.
Great.
So we could use more.
Supervisor Long takes a 5 o'clock in the morning run. I don't know if you're hooked up. Yeah. Right.
I can supply you with a companion.
Well, thank you. Let's just keep trying to get it out. And a couple of messages. There is no need for anybody to buy a dog in Ventura County. And you have all of these dogs like this that you could adopt. And that would certainly help the pet overpopulation problem if we didn't have this importation of dogs into Ventura County. Second thing is the chicks and, I mean, the holiday pets, are not good for animals in the long run and stuff. So if we can really get that message out there, that would be helpful. And finally, I don't know if there's a representative from the press here, but we certainly do. Everybody really appreciates that front page story. Certainly helps both acknowledge the good work that's going on, but more importantly, reminds people that they can go out to the shelter. And I'm going to end it with this. And there's one of the goals of all of us that work in county government is to be able to keep answering that question that we helped make the county we live in more civilized. And how well you take care of your foster children, how well do you sit there and just slaughter thousands of dogs every year and not have any thought about it? Or do you really hustle to try to do the best you can for all of these, in all of these situations? And in Ventura County, I think we're really proud of the fact that we're hustling. So to everybody that's making that happen, from the CEO all the way down to the department heads and all the staff and the IHSS workers here, thank you very much, right, for that. And board, thank you for, some time ago when we tried to vote on the no-kill, there was some questions and stuff, and so really appreciate the board support for that. So thank you very much. We'll look forward to some more pets coming into the boardroom. We're now ready for public comment. And do we have any speakers? All righty, great. Our first public speaker, Yolanda Aguilar.
Good morning, County Supervisors. My name is Yolanda Aguilar, and I am an IHSS provider for over a year now. I take care of Dolores Ward, who needs the care because she's a elderly senior citizen with disabled, legally blind, no family members at all. And I'm here today to ask you to support and vote for the intensive agreement that we have worked out with the county. Give us wages that are equal to living wages. Ordinance means that more providers will be able to pay their rent, take care of the families, and keep up the cost of living increases. I think that Supervisor Benedict once said best that we can judge our society on how well we take care of the most needed it, and with the respect that the county has shown us during bargaining and the finance security in the agreement provides, I know that the IHSS workers will work hard to make sure that the county takes great care of the most needed it. So I ask the county supervisors to please support and vote for the tentative agreement. With this contract, Ventura County will be leader in the making sure that we take care of those who take care of the most needed it. Last of all, thank you, Robert, Tavi, and the whole bargaining team for all the hard work you guys have been doing for the past almost a month already, I think. So
we don't
thank
normally
you.
have people coming making the kind of request you're making. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's great. Appreciate it after negotiations. Susan Escalante. Good morning, Susan.
Good morning. Good morning, County Supervisors. My name is Susan Escalante, and I've been a IHSS provider for 16 years. Last night I was at the bargaining table, and we came to a tentative agreement. We're here today because we wanted to thank the county team for bargaining with us in good faith. The county has shown a willingness to appreciate the hard work of IHSS workers, and we feel that the contract we have agreed on demonstrates that. So we'd like to thank the supervisors and the CEO for working with us in collaboration to ensure together we build a more stable IHSS workforce. We'd also like to give a big thanks to Tabine, Marissa, Melissa, and the lawyers who looked over all the language. Last but not least, thank you, Robert Jenkins, for your years of service with public authority and helping home care workers. Ventura has been a better place for home care workers because of your attention and dedication to the work. You will be missed when you retire. Thank you.
Susan, I might point out Ventura's a better place, not just for the workers, but for all of those 3,000 clients that these workers are taking care of. So thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate it. Juana Mendez.
Buenos días, señores supervisores.
Buenos días.
Mi nombre es Juana Méndez y yo soy un proveedor del programa de IHSS por 7 años. Me ocupo de 2 personas que necesitan atención y cuidado en sus casas. Y estoy aquí para darles las gracias por ayudarnos a llegar a un acuerdo. Esto ayudará a aumentar la calidad de la atención para nuestros consumidores, permitiéndoles vivir con dignidad en sus hogares. Y también aumenta que permite a los trabajadores de IHSS del condado de Ventura saber que los supervisores del condado ponen gran valor en su trabajo, nos respetan, valoran el trabajo de los trabajadores de atención domiciliaria del condado. Yo personalmente les agradezco, tuve la oportunidad de conocerlos porque cuando uno los mira detrás de esta barra, en sus sillas, no conoce uno al ser humano, pero nos han demostrado que son personas que sienten, que tienen los mismos sentimientos que nosotros para preocuparnos por las necesidades que hay allá afuera, en esas casas donde no podemos mirar a esas personas que están ahí esperando que alguien los atienda con amor. Entonces, en lo personal, tuve la oportunidad de conocer al señor Zaragoza y me di cuenta que él es una persona como nosotros, que va al teatro, que gusta de una hamburguesa, parar en un parque. Es un gran ser humano. Entonces, muchas gracias.
In 25 words or less, he says I'm the greatest supervisor there.
Do we have a translator here?
No, my apologies. No, go ahead. She's going to interpret.
Good morning, County Supervisors. My name is Juana Mendez, and I am an IHSS provider for 7 years. I take care of 2 people who need care and attention at their homes. I think this contract goes a long way in addressing the needs of our workers and will help increase quality of care for our consumers, letting them live with dignity in their homes. This raise also lets the IHSS workers of Ventura County know that the supervisors and the county put great value in their work. Knowing that the county respects the values, the work of home care workers will help create the stable, strong workforce that will care for our seniors. Thank you for your support. I hope that all of you will end up voting for this contract. I personally want to thank each and every one of you for supporting the home care workers. You've demonstrated that you have feelings towards the people that we care for. And also I want to thank Supervisor Zaragoza. He is a person like us. He is a great human being. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Maria Vasquez. Good morning, Ms. Vasquez.
Good morning, County Supervisors. My name is Maria Vasquez, and I am an in-home support service provider for 2 years. I take care of 2 seniors who they are alone at their home, so when I get there, it's like they have a family there, you know? They feel happy to see me there. I'm here to ask you to support the tentative agreement that gives home care workers a respectable raise. A majority of home care workers are women and minority who are far too often left behind. We thank you for changing that trend, and we hope that your example will be an inspiration to counties across the state. Letting them know that budget should not be balanced on the backs of the county's workers, but the strong leadership and smart budgeting can make the lives of everyone in the county better. So thank you to the bargaining team for the county, and I hope that the supervisors will vote to pass this contract and help us go ahead. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you to Robert. He's retiring, but he's gonna be missed, and I hope Jennifer, thank you and welcome to that team. Thank you everybody for your time and have a great day.
Thank you. Our final speaker, Bob Pesky.
Good morning, honorable supervisors and guests.
Good morning, Mr. Pesky.
My name is Bob Pesquet. I'm a resident of this county for 18 wonderful years. Each year, the Superior Court in and for the County of Ventura invites citizens to apply for membership in the grand jury. It's a civil grand jury. Applicants must be residents of the county for at least a year, 1 year prior to selection, 18 years of age or older, of ordinary intelligence, have sufficient knowledge of the English language, and be of good character. In its role as the public watchdog, the grand jury considers complaints from residents, investigates the issues, and makes recommendations about all local government, including the county administration, the 10 cities, 21 school districts, and the many departments and agencies of the county. Jurors take an in-depth, unbiased look at the policies, procedures, and practices of the department or agency in question. The grand jury is empowered to examine financial and other records, order audits, personally inspect facilities such as the jails, airports, the hospitals, harbors, and we really did enjoy going out to the animal shelter. We've always been impressed with that. And we conduct private interviews with any public official or employee that we feel we need to talk to. Members of the 2013-2014 County of Ventura Grand Jury encourage you to make your concerns known, do what you can to help improve the quality of life in this community, and to become actively involved by applying for service as a grand juror. It is essential that citizens give of their time and talent to ensure government agencies within our county are doing their best to serve the public and in a cost-effective manner. You will find no better opportunity to understand your county government. In order to maintain Abraham Lincoln's eloquent government of the people, by the people, and for the people, the grand jury needs the vigilance and participation of all citizens. It has been said that democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the others that have been tried. That was Winston Churchill's statement. And Adlai Stevenson adds, your public servants serve you right. The application for the grand jury extends only until April 15th. And if you wish to have an application, anybody here wishes an application, it's next door at the Hall of Justice or online on the grand jury's website. Again, my name is Bob Pesquet. I'm completing a 4th year as a grand juror. I returned for a second tour because I felt it was interesting, worthwhile, and personally satisfying. Thank you.
Mr. Pesky, thank you for 4 years of service on the grand jury, and thank you for taking the time to come down here and remind all of us that we should encourage as many people as possible. The grand jury's reputation, certainly over the 4 years, this past 4 years, has improved in terms of the respect people have for the thoroughness and the objectivity and the balance that the grand jury's approached issues and stuff. So, again, thank you very much, and for all of us, if we have people that we can help get this message out to, we should try to do that.
Appreciate that. Thank you. My pleasure.
That ends our public comments, and we'll go to our board comments. We'll start with Supervisor Zaragoza.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I also want to thank the IHSS individuals that came to share with us today, and I'm very happy that we reached a tentative agreement with their contract, and I think you're probably the hardest workers there is. Everybody works hard, but the work that you do for the elderly, for the people that cannot take care of themselves is really tremendous, and I want to thank you so much. And yes, I do have hamburgers, and I do go to the movies, and that's what she shared, and I saw her at the movie, so I really want to thank, our staff and our CEO for doing an excellent job, and, for the negotiations and to come out with a win-win situation, so I want to thank you for that. Additionally, Mr. Chair, I also want to share with you that I kept talking about the Listos program. Listos meaning getting ready. We did graduate 48 individuals over in Colonia at Ramona School, and on emergency preparedness for the individuals and how to take care of themselves in case of an earthquake, in case of major disaster. So that worked out really great. In fact, it was so successful we want to extend that to other parts of the county too. So that's worked out pretty good. Additionally, I had the pleasure of attending the sheriff's graduation. We had quite a few individuals that graduated from Oxnard, from our sheriff's department, from Simi Valley, from other cities, Santa Barbara. That was really great. So we're in good hands with all those individuals that graduated there at the Performing Arts Center in Oxnard. I also had the opportunity of going over to Cafe NA. They have a program called Our Town, Our Children. And this is a project from homeless individuals that are helped by college students. And they actually portray their feelings through art. And it's really, really great the way they're doing it. So the kids go out there and they paint and they do all kinds of sketches and so forth to kind of portray or share their feelings, and it's really, really a great program. So I was there to share the goodness with them. Additionally, we had a Cesar Chavez 3-day event in Oxnard. We had a fundraiser and a film premiere, that fundraiser for Cesar Chavez and to help the farm workers. And also, of course, there was a march that went from Colonia Park all the way to downtown Oxnard, and we had probably over 1,000 people in that march. Additionally, I attended the Earth Day Saturday at Oxnard. Hundreds of people there, children and kids, to save our earth, use, reuse, and recycle. One of the things that the City of Oxnard is starting now is a garbage collection program where they now are going to use the garbage to do organic projects and so forth, and use that garbage for organic purposes as opposed to just throwing it away. So really, really fantastic. And also had the pleasure of going over to the harbor. They had a yacht opening day for the harbor, and it was just really great to work with the Corinthian Club and also with the Anacapa Club and the Channel Islands Club, and there was individuals that brought their yachts from throughout Southern California and all the way from La Paz, so it was just great, to be there with them. And it was a beautiful day over at the harbor on Saturdays and Sundays. So this week was one of those 24/7 weeks for me. So it was just a great to be there with, and my staff was there with me, and Tracy and Bill and Lourdes and Stan. So everybody participates. So and of course we have other things that we did, but that I'll share later on.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Foy.
Oh, and I need to adjourn on behalf of the folks on this. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to adjourn in memory of the people on this list, and just one real quick comment. If anybody's into baseball, you really want to go to the library and see that whole display they got. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff going on over there. So my comments, thanks.
Yes, thank you. I will go next. Submit this list to adjourn in memory. Fortunately, it's a short one. I'd like to also thank the IHSS workers for coming in today. It's bargaining's always tough for all parties, but we try very, very much to be fair and to listen and to reach agreement that is as best for all parties as possible. You do work in the community that is very needed, very much appreciated, and we know that you work very hard and that you are very committed to your work. So thank you so much for doing that work, but also for reaching agreement and for coming in to comment on that today. It's appreciated. I wanted to just talk about two quick things. On Thursday last week, there was a Ventura County Civic Alliance Workforce Education Conference. It was a very well-attended conference in that it had folks from all over the county, school board members, folks who work in human resources, because it focused on what are we seeing in the workforce today and the generational groups of folks in our workforce today. And in most cases, you may have 5 generations of decades of workers, and that you have Gen X and you have Boomers and you have, the Gen Z or whatever the new title is for them. But it talked about how to be aware of that, how to motivate, how important using the technology is in the workforce, and it was good to see Kelly Shirk was there from HR with a couple of her folks to really learn from the panel and the professionals who are who brought the information forward to talk about what is the profile of tomorrow's worker and how we should be prepared and ready for that, and what an organization can do within its across the platforms and system to be able to keep good workers, attract them, keep them, and inspire them to continue to work with us. So it was actually very, very well done. Appreciated being there. And just quickly, I attended a groundbreaking for Habitat for Humanity Saturday morning in Santa Paula. They're building 8 homes, and the model for Habitat, it's sweat equity, and the family that was there were delightful young family. They're building it on an odd triangle piece of property on Cemetery Road in Santa Paula, and the first thing they're going to do is apply to change the name, so it'll probably be Trinity rather than Cemetery Road. But good turnout. The county put in $1.2 million into this project through home and CBDG money, so we are partners with them. They really appreciated that, and couldn't have done it without us. The project, and the city's doing contributions by way of infrastructure needs for the project. So I look forward to the ribbon cuttings as they complete them and the families move in. And then last, I'll say that today is Equal Pay Day, making the number of extra days into 2014. The average woman has to work to earn as much as her male counterpart did in 2013, April 8th. Women make up nearly half of our nation's workforce and are primary breadwinners in 4 of 10 American households with children under age 18. And today, women still make only 77 cents to every man's dollar, and the pay gap is even wider for women of color. According to the Women's Policy Research, the current pace the wage gap won't be closed until, wait for this, 2058. Not good. Not good. So over a lifetime, the average woman can expect to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars to the earning gap, which then challenges women when they age and not having the same level of income to help them as they retire. So it's certainly the President's called upon Americans to recognize the full value of women's skills, their significant contribution to the labor force, and to acknowledge the injustices of wage inequality and join efforts to achieve equal pay. And that's today. Thank you.
Supervisor Parks.
Thank you. A lot of things over the last week or so. The whole Board of Supervisors attended the Fire Awards, the annual awards ceremony, and got to hear about some true heroes in our community, and some of those are just doing it every day. So it was nice to see us all there. I also want to give my kudos both to the General Services Agency, also known as the Great Service Always Department, for their work with a group of young students at Oak Park High School to work with them. They had an idea. They wanted to put solar panels on the library there, And they worked with our county, and boom, it's happening. And I'm really excited for that, and I thank you so much and look forward to the ribbon cutting for that. And it really inspires these youth to know that they can make a difference. So I was really glad to see that. I was also able to attend the ribbon cutting for the Wendy Bridge 101 overpass there. It helps relieve a tremendous amount of congestion that was there, some of it caused by the construction, but it also was part of the city's plan to increase the capacity there, and that has helped particularly the community of Casa Conejo too. So nice to see that. It not only creates more capacity, it's a nice looking piece of infrastructure, and I think people will appreciate that as they come to the county, come into the city of Thousand Oaks. So nice to see. It also has one of the only bike lanes, dedicated bike lanes on a bridge overpass over a freeway in Southern California, and looking forward to seeing some more connections and safe connections at that. I was also able to attend the city's 17th annual Arbor Earth Day this weekend. Was something I was able to initiate back in the day, and I'm realizing how old and how long I've been around. And then also towards that end, I got to participate in what's called, I think, La Taupe de California, and that means a leg of a race, and the race is the Amgen Tour of California, and we climbed the Mulholland Rock Store Loop. The race was yesterday, or I guess it was Saturday, 4 laps of this race, and it will be repeated when the tour of the Amgen Tour of California comes, and the professionals will be doing it, and it will be the last stage of the Amgen race, and it will be near the Hyatt in Thousand Oaks is the stage ending, but you can go anywhere on that route, and because they're going to be doing so many laps, you can sit and watch them go by really fast, but it is a great event, and I'm so glad that we were able to do that. I did also want to note on our agenda, we had item 18, just another example of a spill of petroleum. As we see oil wells in our county, just mistakes are common. And then just for the workers, I am so glad that there was the cooperation both with the union and some creative thinking, I think, on the part of the Board of Supervisors and our staff to see you come in and within a month come to agreement. I think that's outstanding, and the fact that you can reap those benefits even sooner. So I'm glad that we are able to assist, and looking forward to having that contract before us so we could vote on it. But I have to echo the rest of the board in expressing our thanks for the hard work that you do, because you help people be able to stay at home, and that's so important, and to be able to get the care that they need instead of being in an institutional setting. And I just want to thank your union leaders also for their work so that we could do it in a fast manner. And with that, I just ask that we close in honor of the people on this list, and that concludes my comments.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Parks. We started this board meeting off with a moment of inspiration from a foster parent, and we heard about animal shelter and their efforts to try to go to no-kill. And then the first speaker coming up in public comments talking about the IHSS workers works with a legally blind person who has no family, she said. Now, you got to be proud about living in a county that takes care of somebody that's legally blind and has no family, and a county that takes care of foster children. And there are just a lot of people doing incredible work. So for the IHSS workers, you have one of the jobs that lots of people don't want to sign up for. And so could you just stand up? We want to give you all a big round of appreciation. Right. Thank you very much. So thank you, and I think the board's happy that we've been able to work something out at the table and stuff, and as we move forward. Second thing, a number of events, and it's been alluded to, what we attended is Social Services Task Force, the Sheriff's Academy. There was a prescription drug event, but I don't want to spend my time on that. I'd like to instead go to a PowerPoint and talk about something that happened last week that I think has a significant impact here in Ventura County. And that is the decision of the Supreme Court to strike down another aspect of campaign contribution limits. Hopefully it'll... Yeah, I'll just tell them it's just 2 slides, right? I know Supervisor Foy would like it to be longer, but I couldn't make it any longer than this, right? But, something, I think when you look back to the Plessy versus Ferguson case back in 1896, that stood for just about 60 years, that said separate but equal was okay. It implied that African Americans were different from all the other Americans that are here. I think we're going to look back someday and go, how could a Supreme Court, and unfortunately on a 5-4 vote, consistently take this position that money doesn't buy political access? And that's really the guts of the decision that they made last week. And I just think that this is going to be out there some point in time. Common sense is going to say money does buy political access, particularly super large contributions. And it affects our own campaign contribution limit law. I predict that in the next 5 years or so, the Supreme Court will rule even on just limits to individual candidates and stuff. So it makes it even more important as we do, and we try to do this every 2 years when we do the review. It makes it more important. Next slide, please. For us all to have really proactive disclosure laws. If you can't control the amount of money flowing into our elections, then you really have to be proactive about making sure there's disclosure. And it's so easy for all of these people that specialize in this to come up with some reason why they just couldn't get around to getting the disclosure done. It was too confusing. It was too hard. They forgot. They had a new employee come in and they didn't file the paperwork on time. Bottom line, there are all ways to make sure that the public doesn't know where the money's coming from. So on the one hand, people think that the Supreme Court wants to say that the money doesn't buy access, and on the other hand, they're desperately afraid to reveal who it is that the money is coming from. But we will need to really have proactive disclosure laws, and it's going to be essential for a democracy to have any chance. We're at risk already with the amount of money, but if we don't have the proper disclosure laws, all hope will be lost. There was a day when money used to, behind the scenes, buy seats in the United States Senate back in the 1880s. I don't think we want to go back to those kinds of days here. So that's the major issue that I wanted to talk about from that standpoint. And then one final thing, if I could just, if you would let me tell a story, but 20 years ago, I went to a classroom and watched a student teacher teaching that I was thinking of hiring at Nordhoff High School. And he was almost deaf. And that's pretty amazing for somebody who's almost deaf to be teaching in a public classroom. And I had to make a hard decision. I had lots of candidates. We had one position, one social studies opening. But I said there was something about this kid that he just was so special. His enthusiasm, he had the warmest smile I ever thought. You could tell he was fighting to overcome this handicap. Interviewed him long and hard. He was on the Special Olympics water polo team for deaf students. That he was traveling the world, and this guy was just doing it right and overcoming his handicap. And on Sunday morning, he was jogging on Victoria, and a 23-year-old young lady who made one of the big mistakes of her life was high on drugs and hit and killed him. And he touched so many kids, and he has his own family and a wife, and everything that we can do to try to get the message out to our young people to stay away from drinking and driving and drugs and driving. That's the message that Chris Pruitt wants us to get out there from his death, I'm sure. He does not, it's not about vengeance. It's about, I mean, he cared so much about young people, and we made the right hire when we hired Chris Pruitt. He went on to become the assistant principal at De Anza, and the Ventura Unified School District is now in great mourning, as is the Ojai Unified School District where he first started to work. So we lost a real giant. It's Fortunately, we're not going to forget Chris Pruitt, and the newspapers had the front page headline story about Chris the last 2 days here, at least in the Ventura section. So I wanted to ask the board to adjourn in memory of all these people, including a young man that really touched lots of lives. And if you want to think about a noble profession, go and watch some of these great teachers like Chris Pruitt, and you go, that's a noble profession to try to work in. So thank you very much. We're now ready to move on to item 34, Human Services Agency, and our injured Barry Zimmerman.
Thank you for your comments there, Supervisor Bennett. Good morning, Chair Bennett, members of the board, Mr. Powers. I'm Barry Zimmerman with the Human Services Agency, and I'm addressing this on behalf of both myself and for the Behavioral Health Melanie Roy. It's an item that is requesting some allocation and positions. This is consistent with a couple weeks ago we came and gave you an overview of KDA and the plan and the requirements associated with that work. This is the first in the resources to request to initiate that effort. In particular, these will be the individuals that will be guiding, structuring, managing, as well as the starting aspects of assessing and bringing children in to the needed services through with mental health. So that's about it here. I'll entertain your questions. You can see the items there. This is to start up these allocations immediately to get them on board and not wait till the fiscal year end.
Thank you. Board members, do we have any questions? I have Mr. Pesky listed as a speaker here. Is that correct? Did you want to speak on this item, Mr. Pesky, or is it just an error? Is your name still just left on here? They just haven't deleted your name from the speaking list here. We don't have any other public comments on this, do we, Brian? All right, board members, no questions? We're ready for...
Let me just ask real quick.
Sure.
Barry, that we understand the need here and what you're doing, and it's going to be a workload here. I guess I just also, and Mr. Powers has told me that I guess you guys have taken a hard look at all the other positions you have and what else you can do within there before you bring all these additional people on. Is there anything else that, I mean, is this like the minimum you say, I've got other people that can do this, or am I just hiring for this? Or I just look at it, sometimes an organization, hey, this program slowed down a little bit, I can bring a social worker over here. I was just curious, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we do look at our
You'll say none of your programs have slowed down.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. We haven't experienced slowdown in our programs to shift, but that would be our first priority, and that's what we do consistently, is if there's assets and individuals that can be moved, we will move them. In this case, this is an added workload, and so right now we do not have the capacity.
Yeah, I just hate to hire somebody and all of a sudden something else does, and then we end up laying somebody off and go through that process.
Yeah, we are not in that position, so and this is the start of it. So there's multiple components to this rollout. This is the kind of the upfront and initial step of the assessment component and building that aspect that is required to assess all the children in the foster care system.
Okay. And I have a question. You have to do this every 90 days, each child? That's the report was saying that you...
Yeah, our practice model will be that we'll be reviewing children in care over a period of time, and we're estimating a 90-day turn to do that, to reassess them. The reason being is that oftentimes when we intervene, the child hasn't manifested conditions and situations, and so we will have a process to reassess them throughout time in order to capture their needed services. So there's two components. We assess them as they come in, and then throughout the system they'll be reassessed in time.
Is this all 800 that you're expanding to will be reassessed every 90 days?
As we ramp up with this staffing level will be to get that protocol in place and start with the children coming into the system, and then we'll expand it to all children throughout the system.
But that is the goal then to...
The goal is to have a comprehensive assessment of all the children as a continuous basis. So there'll be additional reports back to the board. As indicated here, early next fiscal year, after we get this up and running, we'll probably come back and say this is what is needed in order to be comprehensive across the whole system.
Yeah, it says it's a new mandate that you have to do it rescreened every 90 days. It just seems like a very aggressive schedule, so I wish you the best, and I'm glad that also you'll be partnering with others to be able to go to the homes too.
Yeah, absolutely. So there'll be contractor providers as well as behavioral health professionals that are offering services in the home.
Thank you.
And thank you, and that is aggressive, but what it will provide us is the information we need to continue to go up to Sacramento and advocate, lobby on the issue of mandate, unfunded, how it fits in the revenue streams that should follow with the work that we're being asked to do as a result of this. So, and I know the associations are fully engaged in CSAC on this, so it would be valuable to have the information that comes out of it.
Mr. Powers.
Just going to echo that this is already up and going. I mean, you're already getting the assessments and referrals, so I appreciate you bringing this now and not waiting to the budget time, because the impact of this program is already hitting, and a lot of thought has been given to the staffing level, so I appreciate the departments.
Maybe one of the outcomes will be that the foster kids won't be moved from home to home as much, too, as a result of this.
Absolutely. That is stability and permanency are the goals out of the program.
And thank goodness that because of hard decisions made and good management fiscally, that we're in a position where we can, when we have something like this, we can say, hey, we've got to get this done, and we have the resources to be able to do that. So it's foster children in Ventura County are fortunate that they live in a county that has strong fiscal management to be able to do this. So keep it up and keep letting us know what your needs are there, Mr.
All right.
Zimmerman. Thanks a lot. Good luck with your elbow.
And thank you for the
All right.
good work, man.
We're ready to vote.
Staff.
And that passes unanimously. We need a motion on the correspondence agenda. We pulled item 35, correct?
Yeah.
The animal thing was just a presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Move to approve the correspondence agenda. And we now have 9 minutes before our 9:45. We won't go to closed session. We'll just take a break for 9 minutes. And sir, do you want to go to closed session? Okay, I'd like to call the meeting back to order. We're at item 20, and this is a resolution to the National Crimes Victims' Rights Week. And District Attorney Greg Totten is here, if you'd come on down, and Catherine Dugan, our Crime Victims Assistance Unit Director. And we've had the pleasure of doing this each year, and I know the bigger day is the march that you're going to have tomorrow. And Supervisor Zaragoza is going to be able to attend, but I have a conflicting
I'll be there with you
meeting,
tomorrow.
there, so.
Delighted.
So want to just say thank you very much, and I'll just very briefly, I'm not going to read the whole resolution, but I'll just do the introductory parts of the resolution. But this is a resolution of the Board of Supervisors of Ventura County proclaiming April 6th through 12th, 2014 as National Crime Victim Rights Week, presented by the board because 22 million Americans are directly harmed by crime each year. And there are so many family members and friends that are touched by that. So we appreciate the fact that you staff and put special resources into this, Mr. Totten, and I'd like to turn the program over to you for the appropriate comments.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to Catherine in just a minute. I just want to say thank you to the board for your longstanding support of the victims program in the district attorney's office. And if I could, I'd like to have our staff that are here stand, because these are people that really care about those they serve. And when people walk through our door, they're at their lowest point a lot of times. We also have parents of murdered children here. We've got representatives of the Coalition for Family Harmony and Interface, and they are really valiant and valued partners in this whole effort. And with that, I'll turn it over to Catherine.
All right. Kathy, thank you for being here again.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Powers, good morning. In December 1982, President Ronald Reagan's Task Force on Victims of Crime issued its report on the treatment of crime victims by the justice system. The report, which was harshly critical, concluded that victims of crime were overlooked, that their pleas for justice were unheeded, and that their wounds, personal, financial, emotional, were unattended. Since that time, advocacy has played a powerful and notable role in influencing public safety policies with regards to crime victims. Without the endless energy of those advocating on behalf of victims, lasting and substantial change would not have been possible. It was advocacy that created the emotional impetus that fueled the public will for the passage of new laws, including an amendment to our state constitution in 2008. The law now demands of our justice system that it not only punish the offender, but care for the victim as well. It demands criminals be ordered to pay restitution to their victims for their economic losses that were incurred as a result of the criminal conduct. It demands that victims have a voice in their own justice. However, 30 years after the task force report and the important legislative changes that followed, data from the National Institute of Justice reveals the percentage of victims receiving the help envisioned by that task force remains unchanged at 9%. Far too many victims still leave our courtrooms not understanding what happened and why, their questions unanswered, feeling as if their voice was not heard, feeling the pain of justice denied. Going forward, our job is to fully integrate in practice the ideals expressed 30 years ago. California has the necessary laws. Where we fall down is in the enforcement of those laws. Laws full of declarations without the means to enforce those declarations are laws of intent, not reality, and that is what our victims still face today. Lest we forget, public safety is reliant on crime victims to report and to cooperate with law enforcement in the investigation and to testify. Without the courage of those victims, without the courage of somebody who witnessed a gang crime, being willing to identify that gang member to law enforcement and later come into court and identify that person as the person responsible, that takes an enormous amount of courage. Without that courage, none of us are safe. So we need our victims to come forward, and we owe them for their courage to do so. This year, we will commemorate the 30-year anniversary of the Victims of Crime Act. The Victims of Crime Act began a new era in the treatment of crime victims by establishing in the federal treasury the Victims Crime Fund. That has been a stable source of funding ever since for our services and compensation to crime victims. So I hope that you will join us tomorrow here in this room for our ceremony as we celebrate decades of accomplishment and as we recommit ourselves to accomplishing those ideals that were expressed so well 30 years ago. And I have for you some buttons that you might wear this week, and certainly if you attend the event tomorrow. Thank you. Those are my comments. I'd like to now turn it over to the Coalition for Family Harmony, Carolyn Sutton.
Good morning. I would like to thank the board for accepting this proclamation today on behalf of the Coalition for Family Harmony. Coalition, over the past year, we've seen over 1,200 bed nights in our shelter and over 300 victims of sexual assault walk through our doors. We know that our clients need these services that the District Attorney's Office offers, and we know that if we send them, they are guided in the right direction. They are helped with victims of crime compensation and restraining orders. Without these services, we think our victims would be lost. They wouldn't know where to go. They wouldn't know how to get through the system. And so we thank Catherine Dugan and we thank District Attorney Totten and their staff for all of their services. It is so important for our victims to be seen, to be heard, and to help that healing process. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Nicole Gonzalez-Seitz with Interface Children and Family Services, and on behalf of our agency, I'd like to thank the board for once again committing to recognizing Victims of Crime Week and survivors in our community. Each year we come together during April and October to recognize victims of crime and to raise awareness and demonstrate our collaboration that we have here in the community. But I'd like to remind everyone that while we come together at these times, victims violence, it happens every day. It happens every day in our community. And so while we remember this week, I'd like for everyone to remember that there are victims that are working towards becoming survivors, and our victim advocates work each and every day to respond to these crimes, to these calls for help, and work to help to provide some guidance and some support, and also help to provide a voice for those who feel voiceless. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all for your advocacy. And Kathy, you've been such a steady leader as you come to the board and stuff, but the work of the coalition and interface are really important also. The other thing I just want to I'm reminded of is District Attorney, your office's leadership in trying to make sure that we have the proper facilities when a sexual abuse victim comes forward, that they can actually come forward in dignity and preserve as much of their emotional integrity as possible as we go forward. So I'll bring this down. Board members, if you have anything you'd like to say while I take this down.
Mr. Chair, I'll be joining you tomorrow. I think I've joined you for the last few years, and I think last year was raining, so I wish it was raining again, but because we haven't had any rain. But I just want to thank you. Restoring the balance of justice is extremely important, and I'll be here tomorrow at 11:45 to join you again. Thank you.
I also just want to thank you for the extra work that you do, and it's so needed for the victims, so I really appreciate that. I wish I could be here. I'm going to be in Sacramento tomorrow morning, but I would be there. But I will be with you in thought and spirit.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just real quick, I just wanted to, I'm always looking for stories of examples of how county employees and our partners care. And one of the ones that always comes to mind is a couple years ago when that family was a victim of a crime, and the mother and son were in financial hardship, and your team went and actually on their own time raised about $40,000 for them to keep them in their home. So just a great example of the work you do. So thank you.
Mr. DA, thank all the staff too that are here today too, Greg, for all the help they're doing.
Okay, our next 9:45 item is National Public Health Week in Ventura County. And Rigoberto Vargas and Aaron Slack. If you'd come on down. Is Aaron here also? Great. All righty. Excellent. We have resolution of the Board of Supervisors proclaiming April 7th to 13th, 2014 as National Public Health Week. And public health starts here. The mission of Ventura County Public Health is to empower the county to promote health and emergency preparedness, prevent disease, injury, and disability. And that's why we're declaring this week National Public Health Week. There are a number of statistics, et cetera, in our resolution, but I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Vargas, for your comments here.
Thank you, Chair Bennett, members of the board, Mr. Powers. Thank you so very much. Rigoberto Vargas, Public Health Director for the Healthcare Agency. It's an honor to be here before you to accept this resolution in recognition and celebration of Public Health Week. In our department, we have a couple of resources that we'd like to share with you that go with this year's theme of public health, Start Here. And those are data-related resources. And so I have with me Aaron Slack, our epidemiologist, that will be helping me through this short PowerPoint presentation. We had hoped to also show you a live unveiling of our website, but we have a few slides to help us with that. We in public health, as you mentioned in the mission, our charge is to work in partnership with the community and with your support to protect the health of our community through emergency preparedness efforts, to promote health, and to prevent death, disability in our community. And we do that, again, in partnership with community. And one way that we partner, and we like to engage our partners even more so in our community residents, is through the assessment of the community's health. And these two resources that I'm about to share with you, I think, get at that, where we're going to be able to better understand the health of our community in order to better address the health issues that are facing Ventura County. Ventura County, of course, is a great place to live. We do well in many health indicators, but there are some health issues that we need to better address in partnership with our community partners. So I'll go through a few slides. First resource is our community health assessment report that through the Community Transformation Grant, we were about to release formally, and then as soon as we were about to publish it, some new data came about, so we have it online, and our Health Matters and Ventura County dashboard is going to be more of our live current data resource, and that's what Aaron's going to highlight. But our community health status report starts off with one of the sections with making the link between socioeconomic status and health. As most of you know, oftentimes it is more important in terms of addressing the root factors that cause ill health, such as low education, poverty, poor housing conditions, and unemployment as being bigger predictors of one's health than actual healthcare access. And so our first section of this Community Transformation Health Status Report focuses on socioeconomic status indicators. One example of such an indicator is poverty. And poverty not just by gender or by city, but in this slide it shows poverty rates by type of householder. Those that are female-led are in blue, show the dramatic increase in poverty rates in all of our cities. Higher poverty rates are for female-led households with children in the home. We also see various differences in the upcoming slides, including this one, in terms of the different communities, the different cities. So, for example, almost 4 in 10 female-led households live in poverty in Port Hueneme compared to a little bit under 10% in Moore Park. So there's big differences, again, in poverty rates by householder, but also by city.
Looks like we have some questions, Supervisor.
Yeah, and the question of what is the current poverty categories listed as to dollars per household, income per household.
Yes, right. So on average about 24,000, just under 24,000 is a poverty level for a family of 4. So it's very low. I mean, there's a lot of families that even slightly higher income than that really are living in poverty, but the federal poverty level is just under 24,000 for a family of 4.
I just want to make sure I'm reading that statistic properly. 38.6% of females with children under 18 years with no husband In other words, if you take that category, are living in poverty in Port Hueneme, is it 38.6% of females? I mean, in other words, of all the females who have children and are under 18 years of age with no husband, 36% of them are poor?
Yes.
Or do they represent 36% of the population of Port Hueneme?
Yeah. No, 36% of females that are
Poor. All right.
Yeah,
Whereas only
household-
9% of those females in the same circumstance, no husband, kids
Yes.
under 18, are fall into poverty.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Next, one more indicator in terms of socioeconomic status is graduation rates. As mentioned, education is correlated with better health outcomes. And in this case, in our county, this is the latest information on graduation rates, and you see big differences among the different cities. The National Healthy People 2020 objective is that at least 82.4 of high schoolers graduate, and Ventura County slightly below that at 82.3. But you see in certain cities like Oxnard, Port Hueneme, Fillmore, have a very low or lower graduation rates than the state benchmark or the Ventura County rate.
And Mr. Chair, Rigo, we're working with the school district on that, right, with Gabe Samonte?
Yes, so we partner with
And
all
also with the,
community partners in terms of the health angle, but yes, we also partner in terms of promoting staying in school and living
And
a
the
healthier
elementary
life.
school districts, yeah.
Yes.
Do you find education is directly related to economics? So the
Absolutely.
poor families have less education? I mean, it's just a direct relationship?
Yeah.
Or do you just find some areas where people are still doing well in the education, but
So various factors clearly go into low graduation rates, but yes, one is economics in terms of oftentimes children needing to work instead of staying in school. But it's very important for us to partner with our school folks to promote staying in school and again living a healthier lifestyle and improving economic conditions so children don't have to leave school for work.
And you're also working in the long run with First Five.
Yes.
First Five has
So,
been
and-
very instrumental in the long run to help with that,
Yes,
So,
we have various programs supported by First Five where we start early in
That's
getting
right.
children to a healthy start and getting them ready to be ready for school.
you really see this kind of stuff too when you do overlays with maps and you kind of see geographically what those areas are, and you do find incredible connections between both poverty and education, but then also your health and your diet and all that, right?
That's right. And again, this is more of a static report. What Aaron will share with you on Health Matters on Ventura County website, our data dashboard. It has the ability to do overlays, such as you mentioned, Supervisor Parks, and also map this information.
That'd be great. That's
Getting-
on your website?
That's on our website that we'll formally share right now. A couple of actual health indicators. Obesity continues to be really at crisis levels in Ventura County, in California, and nationwide. And even though the rates seem to be tapering off, you can see that among fifth graders, the latest data shows that almost 1 out of 2 fifth graders in Ventura County schools are overweight or obese. And in particular, the higher school districts on the left, the Port Hueneme, Santa Paula, Fillmore, Oxnard school districts have higher, with over 50% and close to 60% of fifth graders being overweight. But even in the better performing schools with regard to overweight, it's still about 35%, 40%. So 4 out of 10, even in the better schools, our children are suffering from
Mr. Chairman,
obesity.
in fact, Supervisor Parks and I were just talking about the gardens, how important gardens are, neighborhood gardens, and we were talking about the one over in Colonia, how that really has helped tremendously and to help, with the proper nutrition and and obesity and so forth.
Right. So we have a lot of initiatives in partnership with school districts, with community-based organizations, and many organizations to try to better address the percent overweight. Of course, it's not just children, and children now are experiencing significant health problems, including being diagnosed with high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol as children. But those children that are overweight, suffering those chronic diseases, carry on being overweight adults, and also as adults, over half of us are either overweight or obese as well, and there's differences between the ethnic groups, with Latinos having the highest obesity rates. This, of course, translates to actual disease, and one example is diabetes. There's also a report covers some information around life expectancy. There's stark differences in life expectancy throughout our community, in this case by zip code throughout the county. You can see that more the Oak Park, Thousand Oaks zip codes have longer life expectancy by zip code compared to the Oxnard and Port Hueneme zip codes. So place matters. The gist of this slide is that place matters in terms of the overall wellness of a community and of the individual. Is how long you live is oftentimes the community and the resources that are around you. So, what? Yes.
Go back to that one. This is interesting. When you got Thousand Oaks, Westlake, it's Oak Park, then you come down towards the bottom, you got Thousand Oaks. I mean, one little zip code. What is the difference in some of those? If you were to give us analysis why Thousand Oaks, Camarillo could be at the bottom on some of those, or they could be at the top in some other places. How's that?
So it could be the age distribution, but our epidemiologist can answer a little bit better.
Sure. I actually did the analysis for the life expectancy.
Excuse me, could you step over in front of the microphone?
Yes.
There you go.
My name's Erin Slack, Chair Bennett, Mr. Powers, board members, thank you for having me. I did the analysis for the life expectancy by zip code, and in order to calculate this, you take 1 year's worth of data for 2010, and the number of deaths, we usually have about 5,000 deaths within Ventura County, and so the age at each of those deaths within that 1 year time span to calculate the life expectancy. And so it could have been that just at that 1 year time period, there would have been a lot more younger people dying within that zip code. What I'd like to do in the future is do 10 years worth of analysis so that we can have more stable rates. But you will see on here that a lot of the socioeconomic indicators that even Parks was talking about are associated with lower life expectancy. So those areas that have lower graduation rates and higher levels of poverty also have lower life expectancy. However, even at our lowest life expectancy within Port Hueneme, we're still above the national average. The national average is 78 years, and so in Ventura County, we're still doing better than the national average.
Mr. Chairman, I see Oxnard is about an 82. You should have put Oxnard.
I'm sorry.
In the 80s, Oxnard is in the 80s, right?
Yes.
It's about 82 or so, 83.
Mm-hmm. And actually,
I feel better now.
And obviously, individual life expectancy depends on health promotion and disease prevention behaviors that we try to, proponent in public health.
I'd like to turn it over to the.
Yeah, I've been in very close contact with a doctor in my area, Dr. Lois Friss, and she has been very strong on trying to have the county do a community health assessment. I think she's met with staff for each different community because each community is different. And when you talk about life expectancies, I guess you're looking at death certificates, but do you get down to the level of what they died of? Because the thought is, you may have more people dying of diseases related to, obesity, for example, and you find that in an area, and then you can address your resources towards that. And I'm just wondering how detailed you can get in this, and it's incredibly valuable.
Actually, you can do life expectancy rates by cause of death as well. I haven't done that within this health assessment, but that's something that we can look into in the future, definitely.
And I think that there's a lot of different indicators out there that you have, and I was just at a conference discussing these. So one is the death certificates. Another one that they were looking at are even paramedic calls. Where are all the heart attacks happening? The kind of information that you can then use to do something about. Like we were talking about community gardens, or finding areas in our urban areas that don't have produce at the stores that you need to. Something that the county can do. So I'm hoping that this information can be of enough detail that we can then, actually put together some programs to address it, right? That's the objective.
That's actually a great segue into our new website that we have called Health Matters in Ventura County. And this is going, as the maternal and child health epidemiologist, I'm usually the go-to person for data. And what I like to say about this website is this is the go-to website for all health-related data within Ventura County. And if it's okay, the list that we're passing around includes all of the indicators that are available on the website. There are some indicators that are available at the city level and the census tract level and the zip code level, and you're actually able to search by those different levels, so you can put in your own zip code and you have the ability to look at all of the health indicators that are related to your zip code. Most of the ones that are available at the census tract level and the zip code level are actually socioeconomic indicators, so they're related to income, those that would come from the census or the American Community Survey. This website has a couple different features that I'm going to go over, but if you have questions later on, my contact information will be at the end so that you can contact me regarding additional questions.
Okay, and I'm just going to, we had allocated 5 minutes for this item, and I know we had 10 o'clock, so we have people waiting, so.
I'll speed through.
Thanks a lot.
So this is the community dashboard. The list that I've given you has over 100 indicators that are available on the website. They're able to be searched, so if you type in obesity, all of the indicators that are related to obesity will come up, and you're able to look at the dashboard. There's mapping capabilities. There's information on each of the indicators. For instance, adults with diabetes, it tells how we are doing in comparison to other California counties. It gives you the rate. It gives you other available data sources that are related to this indicator, and then also promising practices that are related to diabetes prevention. There's a Healthy People 2020 tracker on there. The Healthy People 2020 tracker shows where we are in terms of the national targets for a lot of disease indicators, such as adults with health insurance, whether or not we're meeting the target, and whether or not we're improving or staying stable over time and looking at trends. There's a report assistant that will be available for everyone that goes to the website. So agencies can actually create their own reports and add indicators from the website into a report that they can print off and use for grants and other things that they need to publish. And the website's also available in Spanish. So all of the information that's available online, you can, on the left-hand side of the website, translate that into Spanish. And we can add additional languages in the future if need be. And then that's my contact information. I know that we took up too much time, but if you have any additional questions, let me know. And there's a link on the public health website that links directly to the Health Matters website. But if you go to www.healthmattersinvc.org, it will take you directly to this website.
And I want to emphasize, you didn't take up too much time. It's just we probably didn't allocate enough time. 5 minutes. I mean, this is way more valuable than 5 minutes of our time. So next time, let's just make sure we have plenty of time for you in terms of being able to do this, because this is the essence of what we do, public health.
Mm-hmm. So, I know. I also regret that we have to rush through this because it is a really important topic. But could you just give me a summary of where you're going from here? You know, what are you looking at doing and the funding too?
Yeah, so we're continue to engage our community residents, our community partners in examining these two new resources, the Community Health Assessment Report and the Health Matters. In fact, we're having a meeting tomorrow with community partners so that we can reassess our partnership in terms of initiatives and focus of our resources that are limited and focus them on by city, by zip code, by topic. And so, yes, it will help us as a department, as an agency, focus our services.
Supervisor Long?
Can I ask another question? Are you able to use electronic medical records as part of your data source?
Some of the indicators actually do use health-related data that is available through the electronic medical records. Actually, within our department, though, we do have electronic laboratory reporting into our communicable disease department, and data from our communicable disease department is also available online on the Health Matters website.
But, I mean, it's a really good way if you want to zero in on different communities and just see what it is. As I was mentioning before, each community is a little different and their needs a little different. But boy, what an incredible tool to be able to, know what resources are most needed. We have clinics throughout the county, and that we could really start focusing our efforts where we know they are needed.
There are city profiles too available on the website. On the left-hand side, there's a link that says city profiles, and then each of the city has their own individual profile that has socioeconomic data and health-related data for each of the cities.
Great.
So really, on behalf of then of our over 400 dedicated public health professionals, we want to thank you again for this proclamation, and thank you for your support.
Supervisor Long has a...
Just say, you're doing great work in pulling this kind of information together and doing the leadership grant with the policy leaders and trying to engage our city partners too, because that, of course, is where in the urban core where we know we have challenges with obesity and different levels of health conditions. And perhaps it's something, Supervisor Parks, that this type of presentation could come to VCOG, that we could encourage the cities to post this on their websites so that their citizens could be able to access it and their policymakers. It's good work.
And continue zeroing in, I think it'll help too.
Yeah, I was going to say, you sparked a lot of interest here, as you can see, and there's some lot of good stuff, because, you know, you go in a community and they may not even know, well, things are good here, compared to what, though? Until you compare it, and I think this is good, so I look forward to the years as you come through with more of this information. That's great stuff. Thank you.
Rigo and Aaron, thank you so much and your staff too, for the excellent job.
Thank staff that are here.
Your staff
come
is
over
right here.
for a picture, please.
I mean, you could
Turn your shoulders.
Yeah, the taller gentleman in the back.
pretend you like each other.
Thank you so very much.
Chair Bennett, one of the things that the conference I went to that studied these different types of health assessments and they were all physicians and doctors, emergency room doctors. Their conclusion is, what's the best thing you can do? And I was surprised to hear it was education. And that's kind of what we saw at the beginning of this too, is that those communities with the higher education, you know, people have more resources as a result of their education and can have healthier lifestyles.
Great point. Thank you very much. And we have our 10 o'clock time certain, and that's a presentation of the Ventura County Citizens Access System. And
good morning, Chair Bennett, members of the board, Mr. Powers. For the record, Chris Stevens with the Resource Management Agency. We will try and go through this as quickly as we can.
You've got 30 minutes, so...
Well, before I get started, though, what I want to do is recognize that a lot of people were involved in this project. I just happen to be the person standing up here talking to you today. The large part of the presentation will be done by Annie Shim. She is with the Resource Management Agency, and she volunteered to be one of the lead, well, maybe not volunteered, but anyway, agreed to be one of the lead folks on our staff to assist the public in the use of this new system. And she's going to walk you through some of the demonstration. Also is Joe Clark, the head of the Resource Management Agency IT section. And he's been the lead on this entire project, which is now going on, I think, probably its third year from start to finish here. And the implementation of this module actually represents kind of the completion of the introduction of the key elements of the project. So it's a real milestone for us. Lest we forget our partners, it isn't just the Resource Management Agency. The fire department, Mark Lorenzen and his staff, particularly Masuda Raghi, Jeff Carter, Vaughn Miller, instrumental, and in our public works agency, not just Jeff Pratt, but Ray Gutierrez, Jim Otusa, Anitha Balin, all vitally important to helping us get this project off the ground. So I wanted to make sure I recognized them before I forgot. Anyway, the cell automation project, that's the backbone, that's the database, that's all of the work we've been doing for 2 years is kind of what's behind the curtain. The citizen access is now us kind of opening up that curtain and letting the public and our customers be a part of the system and look into it from their home, from their office, anywhere that they wish to get the information that they need. I think it helps us fulfill a lot of our goals with the project: transparency and public access, and simplified services for our customers. So, as I said, it's a real milestone for us. What we've been working on here, I'd say for maybe close to the last year, was taking that out-of-the-box system and customizing it for Ventura County. We wanted to make sure that we made the system as user-friendly and easy to use as possible. We didn't want to have introduce the system right out of the box and have a lot of questions and things not functioning as we'd like them to. So what we've done is created what we call kind of a landing page. So this actually is not part of the citizen access system that came out of the box. This is something that we created. So when folks come into the system, this is what they first see. And you'll see that there is a lot of information here. Not only do we have a nice description of what the system is all about, we describe for them, for example, here they can click on and see which departments are actively involved with all of their permitting and databases. There's our Public Works, Resource Management, and Fire Protection District. We spent a lot of time here making sure we gave an opportunity to provide comments, kind of part of our continuous process improvement here. We know the system is going to have some growing pains, and we want to give people every opportunity to provide their suggestions, identify for us any of the issues that they've had so we can get them addressed very quickly. Similarly, we have a technical support box here that will go right to Annie's desk, and she can help them through what I'll call the technical issues related to the system. And then we also created over here a number of tutorials to help folks get through the system so that they can click on that. If you click on this, it'll go through and provide you screenshots of the system, giving you a step-by-step process for how to register for an account or for other things of that nature. I hope I don't click on something wrong. Very good. We also provide general information, give all of the addresses, the office hours, counter hours for all of the departments that are involved, and then also provide them a quick access to some additional resources that are available to assist them through the process. Help them find their assessor's parcel number, for example. It's a very popular one. Most people aren't aware of their assessor parcel number, and this allows them to quickly identify that, as well as immediate access into the one-stop permitting. So after getting through all of that introductory information, you can click, and hopefully that will hit spinning, take you into the actual citizen access system itself. And what I'll do, I'll turn it over to Annie to kind of walk you through, kind of demonstrate for you how it works. We thought about doing screenshots, but we thought it would be a lot more effective for you to kind of see how the system functions. A couple things before I turn over that I would like to mention. We've been working with an issue brought up by the assessor's office about information and addresses. There are certain things in the government code related to addresses and elected officials or those in law enforcement. And so what you see here, you'll see some features that will allow you to, for example, search by name. We may, in fact, before we go live next Monday, be turning those off for now until we sort out the database in the background. But I just wanted to point that out to you so you're not expecting that perhaps to be out there on next Monday, which we hope to be our go live date. But I think with that,
But that will eventually be turned on?
Well, we'd like to, yeah. We'll have to work in the meantime in the back end of the database perhaps to make sure that those that want to search for some names, those names will not come up. So that's a lot more involved, as I understand it. I'm not a technical person, than just simply turning off the function for now while we get that addressed.
But we will get it addressed.
Well,
The intention is
our intention is to get it addressed. Yeah, a number of counties have that function open. We'll be researching as to how they did it, and hopefully we can learn from what they've done. With that, I will turn it over to Annie and let her walk you through the system.
Good morning.
So I have the pleasure of providing you with a short demo of the system. So this is the homepage of Citizen Access. In order to begin the record search process, you need to have a registered account and sign in. The registration process is very straightforward. It's just like any other registration process in any other public website. You just need to create a username, a password, and provide your contact information. So I'm just going to type my name in right now. Once you log in, it's going to take you to the home page where you can begin your record search. Oh, and I didn't click. Let that load for a second. So there's two types of record search processes that you can do. You can do a global search, or you can do a search by department. Let me go back in here. So this is the home page once you register once you sign into your account. You can start your record searches by department by clicking on any of the tabs here or any of the hyperlinks here. I'm just going to provide you some examples of potential record searches that a member of the public can do. By clicking on the code compliance, let's say I'm a person who wants to buy property here in Ventura County or in the unincorporated county, and I want to know, are there any code violations or were there code violations on my property? Well, they can click on the code compliance tab, use the general search features here to look that information up. So I have an example here. Click on the search, and the record information should show up. So there's 5 records associated to this particular property, and you can see by the date here, it starts from 2006 and all the way into to 2013. So there is an open violation on this property. You click on the record number, and it'll take you to that record detail information. Under this record, you can click on more details to get a background information. And you can see here that there is a drop down where it shows what type of violation it is. For the fire department, let's say I'm a member of the public and I want to know, have there been some fire permits issued for a particular senior care facility? By going on the fire module here, you can type in the name of the facility under the project name. So I have another example. Sunshine Health. And here it brings up 3 records. And again, by the dates, I can see that in 2014, there is a recent project here. So by clicking on the record number, it's going to take me to the record detail information for that particular permit. You have the applicant information. You have fees. If you pull this drop down, you can see that if there were fees associated to this particular project, that information would show up. Here under processing status, what's nice is you can see where in the process this particular permit is in. All of these here are phases within the review process. So if you see a check mark, it shows that it's been completed. If you see a little circle, a little clock symbol, that means it's in process. And if you click on, I believe, initial inspection, you can also see the details of that particular phase. So you know what's been done, what's been executed, and also by whom and what date it was. So in this case, we know that the fire clearance was granted on this particular date. And if you go and click on this particular status over here, it shows that the status of the license is active. So under the planning module, let's say I am an applicant and I want to know where in the process is my permit right now. I could do the same thing where I go under the planning module and type in the record number. So I have one right here with me. So under the planning module, you get the project description. It explains what the project is about. Again, if you click on the fees tab, it'll show you all the fees associated to it if there were fees that were paid for. Under processing status, you'll also see where in the process this particular record is under. And it's loading. Thinking. What I wanted to show you was under the processing status, what's nice about the planning record is, as you know, with the discretionary entitlement process, there is interagency review. And under that processing status, there's a special folder for that interagency review. So you can see when, which agencies commented on that particular process, and also when and who and what they provided, like conditions, environmental analyses. And under the planning processing status, there is also a module for prep for hearing. So you can see when the staff members schedule the hearing, and then each of the decision bodies have their own folders, so you can see when a decision was executed by a particular hearing body. All right, here we go. So again, going back, under agency review, you have a list of all of the agencies that participate here in the county on a discretionary review. Depending on the type of project it is, not all participate. In this case, we know that because of this little green checkbox here, that a fire prevention review was conducted. And when you drill down, you see that when this particular project was deemed complete by fire, when it was, when conditions were provided, and when an environmental analysis was conducted. And I mentioned previously also about the prep for hearing. So you can see here that this particular staff member scheduled a hearing with the planning director. And if you go under the planning director decision workflow, you can see that the decision was executed on January 6, 2014. So that's the planning module. Going to Public Works, let's say I'm a neighbor and I see some grading going on in my particular neighborhood, and I want to know, is there a permit for that particular site? What you can do is you can access Citizen Access, go in the Public Works module, and you can type in the address of that particular home. And I have an example. So under Public Works, there's many departments, and you can tell what type of records these are by the record type column here. And here you see that there is a grading permit. By clicking on this hyperlink, it will take you to the record detail page, so you can get additional information. Under this grading permit, you can see the project description, so you know what it's for, the applicant information as well. And if you go under the processing status, you can get details about the permit. For example, when the permit was issued, by clicking on this dropdown, it was issued on December 9, 2013. And if you click on the inspection tab, it says that it's currently in construction. So that's the record searches by department. You can also do a global search by typing in any keywords. Either you can do a property address or a parcel number. You could type in a name if you like. Anything that has a keyword associated to that record will show up. So I will type in a consultant's name, Jane Farkas, in this global search field. With the global search, you're not limited just by department. So it shows you everything that's currently in the system that is associated to that keyword. So with Jane, in this particular case, all of the records that she is associated to show up. So you can see here that there are 34 records that are associated to her name, and they range from Public Works all the way to Resource Management Agency, as well as the Fire Department. If you go further down, you also notice that she is a consultant, so her consultant license information is also in here, and she is a property owner, so that property owner information shows up here as well. Now I want to show you how to execute a credit card payment online. So in addition to record searches, citizen access, we can also do online credit card payment. So I have an example record for you. I'm going into the planning record. I'm going to pull up my film permit. Under the film permit here, there is that fee module. When you click down, it shows you all of the fees that were paid for that particular record, and then it also shows a column for outstanding fees. If I was an applicant who wanted to pay for this particular permit online, all I have to do is click on this Pay Fee tab, and it's going to send me to the payment screen. In the payment screen, it's like just any other online website where you do online payments. It's the kind of that shopping cart idea where you check out that particular item and you go through the payments process. I'm not going to show you the full steps here, but I do want to let you know that once you go through the entire process, it's going to take you to Official Payments. Official Payments is a secure third-party website that the tax collector's office is currently using for their online payment transactions for property taxes. So we're using the same system. And under Official Payments, that's where they do the billing information, the credit card information, and that transaction goes on in that particular website.
And is that a 4% charge still, or?
Yes, so there is a service charge that's applicable, and is Chris? Yes, so if the fee,
2%.
I believe, if the payment, the total transaction payment is over $189, or if it's less than $189, it's a flat rate fee of $395. If it's over $189, then 2.35% charge is applicable. And so that's the end of my demonstration, unless you have any questions for me. I'm going to turn it back to Chris now.
Just want to wrap up a couple things. Andy just had run through and used that global search with Jane's name there. That's one of the functions, as I said, we'll be turning that off until we sort out the database in the back. The reason we wanted to show you that is that Jane is a consultant, a registered licensed professional who works on a number of cases. As you saw, 34 cases she has that she's working on here at the county. When she registers in for the program, that's the screen that she's going to get. So she won't have to search for all of her cases. She will be able to pull that and have immediate access to all the cases that she's working on. So that's why we wanted to show you that in particular. The last thing I mentioned earlier, I said it's a work in progress, and there's a lot of functions that we're hoping to continue to add. As we said, one of our goals was to get applications online. We'd like to really strengthen the payment process further, both on this system and at our counters. They're tied together. Also, the electronic plan submittal, that was part of an Edison grant that we applied for and received. We're still working out the details of getting the grant document done to bring that back to you, but we do hope to allow consultants to submit their plans electronically as well, rather than the rolls of paper. We'll save a lot of paper and a lot of fuel transporting those back and forth. So that's on our horizon as well. So I think with those, that'll run through. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and if there are difficult ones, I'll ask Joe and Annie to respond.
Any other questions? We do have a speaker. Do we have any questions for staff? Huh? Okay. Anybody else? All right. So, Steve DeCesare. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Mr. Powers. For the record, Steve DeCesare, Assistant Sheriff with your Sheriff's Office. I just learned about this about an hour ago, and with the Sheriff's Office, we had one concern, that was a global search. I just found out that apparently, and just hearing Mr. Stevens talk, that they sound like they're going to delay that. But our concern was that people would be able to access this via their computer and access law enforcement records. Because you could go on there, a lot of us are property owners, but if you can go on there online and run our names and find out where we live at, then that would obviously put us and our families at jeopardy. We have not had time yet to get with our employees, let them know that that's a possibility where they can file a a letter in order to have their names restricted from that. So you're also talking about law enforcement officials from LA County, from other counties that live inside Ventura County that are probably not even aware of this. It's one thing if they can come down to the counter and look up information. It's another thing if they can just go online and pull up our names and find out where we live. There's groups out there, sovereign citizen groups out there that like to go out and put liens on properties of law enforcement officials. They like to file bogus claims with that. And I think this type of access for law enforcement is going to be very detrimental. So I'm glad to hear that they've decided to at least delay that until we can at least talk with them and our concerns and also get with our members.
Unless a board member objects, I think it'd certainly be our intention.
He makes a really good point.
To
Yeah,
make
really
sure
good
that before you go online, you work things out with the sheriff's
Yeah,
department.
I agree.
So, okay,
Absolutely.
great.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Supervisor
Parks.
I've used other systems in other counties that don't have a search by name. You know, you can do search by address and all. I'm just wondering how important that one is.
Well, I think for we'll say some of the general members of the public, I think it would be helpful. And so that's our intent. The system was built that way. We know a number of counties and cities have that function. So we will work to see what we can do to make that work for us. I think if we can put in some filters and some other things to control that information, but allow other information to get out, we prefer to do that. But until we're comfortable, we will simply just turn off that function,
And
make sure it's not used
there's some really
inappropriately.
great information here. If you have a project that you're going through, that you can go right in there and find out the status of it, and from all the different departments, as well as the other departments can all see it. So it's just some incredible ways to help expedite and make it easier for people who are doing development. But there is an aspect of the ability to snoop on your neighbors and things like that does give me some concern. And so that's where I would look at what is the government purpose of being able to search by name, for example. If you can give me an example of why that is a benefit.
I'm assuming that it is there simply as a matter of convenience for a person who wants to look for information perhaps on their own property, and the easiest thing for them to do is type in their own name. But I don't. It's been a standard function as far as I know on the system. We thought we were handled in the back end with the database using the assessor's database. We just recently found out that wasn't necessarily the case. So what we'll do is turn this function off, and if we can't work that out in a database on the back end, then we won't be turning it back on.
Well, if you can give obviously I know my address. It's easier to type in my name. I can also type in my address. But if there is like a real government purpose that you can see that won't be satisfied unless we allow for search by name, that would be helpful to know.
Okay, very good.
I would like to make sure that we have just a full discussion of this as it goes forward, because I do think that there are some things where search by name, could be valuable. You have somebody that you think is a consistent abuser causing a problem, and you want to know if they have other properties that they're doing the same kind of thing on, that kind of thing. So I suspect that there is, but at the same time we want to get it right. So what I don't want to have happen is for you to make the decision that we can't get it, and us to not know that. So I know it's going to be held. We want to get it right. I think everybody up here wants to get it right. But then as you make the assessment, if you see a public benefit that Supervisor Parks was talking about, great. I think that there are, but I haven't sat here and worked it all out in my head. But if you don't think that that's the case, then I want to make sure that's not just quietly shelved and we're not fully
I'd be
informed
happy
of
to do
that.
that.
Okay,
It's a fair and important question. We need to get it answered before.
All right.
It may also be incredibly resource intensive to try to take out every name that you should be taking out of there when you do go global.
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned if doing the work in the back end, so to speak, is either not possible or extremely difficult, that may be the answer to it as well. So we haven't dug deep enough into it yet for me to answer that question.
All right.
But the whole idea was to expedite the work that our citizens are doing for construction, for other permitting processes.
To give our customers better access into the systems that we operate, and streamline those processes.
There's other programs that you can put the name in and the address to get property records and so forth too, right? So I know there is, because, you know.
There's all sorts of systems out there
Yeah.
on the web to allow people to look for names and addresses.
But I think the sheriff has a good, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
valid
No, we're very
concern.
sensitive to that. As I said, that's why we'll make sure that function is not available until we've sorted this out to everyone's comfort level needs to be.
So we should look at that, too, yeah.
Yeah.
Good. All right.
Okay.
Anything else?
No,
Thank you very
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
And
the
we
presentation.
appreciate all the board support. This has been a
Thank you.
difficult and long
Lots of work.
project, although maybe by IT standards not, but certainly by my standards.
Long
So I
time
appreciate all
coming.
that.
Thank
Did
you.
you save 5 minutes of your 30 minutes time? We appreciate that in terms of moving us back closer to on time. We now have our 10th, we need a motion to receive and file. Thank you very much. We're ready to vote on that? Okay, and so item 23, Child Abuse Prevention Month, and we have Elaine Martinez. I don't think it's Elaine Martinez. Executive Director for the Partnership for Safe Families and Communities in Ventura County, and Soleta Jorbowski, Program Director for Ventura County Public Health and Chair of the Child Abuse and Neglect Education Task Force, right?
Good
We have a
morning.
third person here?
Oh,
Right.
Well,
A
this
third
is
person here.
some of our board members and
Great.
representatives as well.
Thank you.
Actually, thank you. Unfortunately, Salita couldn't be with us this morning. She's out ill. So anyway, I'll try to present some of what she was going to present this morning. Well, good morning, Mr. Chairman Bennett and board, and Mr. Powers. We'd like to thank the Board of Supervisors for the ongoing support of the partnership and the work that we do, and the commitment to the care for our children and families, and commemorating April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. And it's a time to raise awareness about child abuse and neglect, and also to create strong communities to support our children and families, and talk about prevention. As a partnership, we have many, many community partners that work in the area of child abuse prevention, and I'd like to recognize some of them. I'd like to acknowledge Judy Weber, the Deputy Director of Children, Family Services and Human Service Agency, who is actually, if you want to stand behind me. Also, with that, some of the other agencies, if they'll stand as I call them out, that work with us: Public Health, Behavioral Health, the District Attorney's Office, the Coalition for Family Harmony, Interface Children Family Services, the Naval Base of Ventura County, First Five Ventura County, Kids and Families Together, Asperinet, Pacific Clinics, United Parents, and many of our partnership members, and so many other more community members and law enforcement that work with us in their collaboration and support and dedication to keeping children safe. We'd like to actually highlight some of the prevention work that we've been doing in Ventura County over the last 4 years with all of these partners. Every different agencies taking lead at different times, and it's around looking at strengthening families. Isn't that a good example of protecting our children back here? And Aiden actually wants to be introduced. This is Aiden Footboy. As implementing the strengthening families requires engaging the programs and services that provide support for children and families. This approach means that identifying existing strengths in families as well as programs, and based on those strengths, developing strategies that are based on the levers of change, which I'll talk a little bit more about as we get into the PowerPoint. The goal is to strengthen our families so they can better provide to the children safe and happy childhoods. So a little bit of the strengthening families overview that we're beginning to do. If we can move to the next slide. I have the pointer here, so to the right? Okay, there we go. This is some of the overview. It mobilizes our partners and our communities to build on those family strengths and promoting optimal development for our children and prevent against child abuse and neglect. It also helps, as I talked about before, look at the strengths that will help address some of the challenges in our families to help them through the healing process and also direct them to the services out in the community. It buffers the risk and promotes better outcomes for our children. It builds on and can become a better part of our existing programs, our strategies, our systems, and our community opportunities. And it's also grounded in research. A lot of it uses tools that are considered evidence-based tools. It's based on the 5 protective factors. And when we look at these protective factors, if they're in place with our families and also with our programs, less likely to be child abuse and neglect. So the 5 are parental resilience, the ability for parents to bounce back from the challenges in their life. Social emotional competence of children, and that's the child's ability to interact positively with others. Concrete need and supportive times, and concrete support in the time of needs. That's meeting the basic needs of all of our families, whether they have food, shelter, clothing, able to meet their financial needs in the community and for their families. Social connections, the fact that they're connected with friends and church or neighborhoods or within their families, that they can be provided that emotional support that they need for their families. And also that they have that knowledge of child development. And they have that accurate information about child development and what their child's experiencing, whether it's emotional, social, or physical through their growth years. So these are some of the, I'm just going to basically go through the next few slides, giving a highlight of each of the agencies and some of the this framework that they're working with within their services that they're providing. The first one is Children and Family Services through the Human Service Agency. They're embracing the family strengthening framework and the 5 protective factors as a force behind their vision by protecting children by strengthening the families. And that's creating the umbrella for all of us to work underneath that framework. They're using this as a core value behind both the KDA and the core practices modeled here on the effort here in California. Additionally, they're using some of the trauma-informed approach as the need for pursuing a paradigm shift in the support of families. And then they're requiring that many of their contracted partners use this strengthening families framework and the 5 protective factors, in addition to the work, whatever contracts we have, whatever grants we have with them as well. And using some of the tools called the Family Development Matrix that's out there that actually assesses the strength of children and families, and then as part of the contracts here in the county. The next one is Interface Children and Family Services. Many of their programs that interweave throughout the programs and the services that they provide. You're going to see in their mental health program, in their DADS program, in 211, their family violence education and prevention programs as well, their youth services, strategies program. Their strategies is actually a technical training and assistance program that's partnering with many of us to train us in this framework, but also to train many more across the county, and to work to implement it into our systems as we work with children and families. It's also part of their supporting their family, their father involvement. Next is the Spirinet. Once again, they're a foster care agency. They work with a lot of children that have been traumatized and with foster care parents. They are using it as a value as part of their cognitive behavioral therapy as well as behavior modification. They're making sure that all staff and foster parents in their intensive treatment foster care programs are trained on all these modules and on the information. And then they're also using their family development matrix as an assessment tool in their in-home parenting programs, their court-mandated programs, and their co-eds programs as well. Next is public health. Public health is using the framework to help map. They looked at mapping their scope of work and the needs in their program. They also looked at it as a structure to create screening of what can be the barrier for different clients. And then they're using it as a communication with a lot of the program partners that they work with out in the community. And the next one is First Five. First Five is working on a statewide level as well with the Strengthening Family. And this framework is not only statewide, that's supported through the Office of Child Abuse and Prevention, it's also nationwide. So First Five is working at a statewide level. They're looking at, they've done some local convenings in our community. They've also, we have an upcoming leadership summit that I hope you've received information regarding. And they also, different spin-off events. They've trained their neighborhood for learning centers, their staff, and many of their parents already in these protective factors as they're doing some of the professional development of their staffing. And they're looking at it for key outcomes. So that kind of gives you a little bit of what's going on in each agency. But I think this next diagram actually gives you a great flow chart for looking at the amount of work that has happened across our county in the last 4 years. As you look at it, we're looking at what they say is that the levers of change are they're a high-level approach to obtainable changes in how we support our families and in our communities. So there's 3 areas that we've all been addressing. One is working with parents and through our parent leadership, creating that change, looking at professional development, training our staff and our programs to fall under this framework, as well as looking at some of the policies and systems that it's already written into the system improvement plan. And then the leadership summit, we hope some more policy and system change will come as a part of the Strengthening Families. A couple of highlights out of this is just that really, really incredible work. We've been doing it at a higher level of programs in the last 3 years, and now it's beginning to trickle down to working with parents. There is a current parent leadership training occurring. It's a 7-week commitment for parent leaders in our community. Many of them, some of them have come from as past parents that have reunified, that were in the child welfare system. Others have come through us through First Five, through public health, through many of our partners. It is a training provided by parents, it's called Parents Inspiring Parents. I was at the training on Saturday, totally inspired by these parents. But to present this framework about the 5 protective factors to them, and for them to begin to take it back out into their families at home and for them to understand it was very, very empowering. So as the parents that were doing the training shared, had other parents share their stories, the trainers would ask the parents, and what protective factor was that? And a parent would share back, gosh, I just used parental resilience. And somebody else would say that was concrete support in the time of needs. So it was really inspirational to begin to see it down at our community level in that regard. Additionally, the other highlight out of this, of course, is the Leadership Summit coming up, and that is going to be for a lot of our policymakers to attend. It will be on April 24th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Oxnard Performing Arts Center. We are going to have two keynote speakers, Dr. Vincent Folletti, who is a principal researcher with adverse childhood experiences, as well as Dr. Matt Sanders. He's the director and professor at clinical psychology and also around the founder of Triple P Parenting. And these are some of our evidence-based programs from Strengthening Families. The last thing just that I would want to share with you is actually we have pins as well for you. So let me see this, Carolyn. So we'd like to present you with the pin for child abuse prevention. There's two different pins coming around. One is the blue ribbon pin, and that particular pin is for blue ribbon is in remembrance of children who have been touched by abuse and neglect, and a reminder that everyone has the job to prevent the maltreatment of children. The other one is the, so you should have one that looks like this. It says Stand Up for Children. And then the other one is Every Child Matters, and that's the pinwheel. And the pinwheel represents, it's a pinwheel for prevention and it's for hope. And it's the national symbol for child abuse prevention. It's our collective responsibility to keep our children safe, and it can be as simple as helping a stressed out mother, maybe in a grocery store, saying, validating that they're having a difficult time and if they need any help, to help look at and prevent some of the warning signs of stressed out parents that could lead to child abuse and neglect. So it's our honor to be here and to accept the proclamation. Together, one of our mottos with the Partnership for Safe Families and Communities is together we can make a difference. So let me briefly turn it over to
And I'm sorry, but we allocated 15 minutes for this, and you've used your 15 minutes.
Thank you.
And we have 11 o'clock APCD meeting, so we're not going to be able to have other presentations. I will come down in just a moment for the resolution and to present you with the resolution and for us to take the picture. But all of these topics are important. I mean, I do not want to minimize child abuse in Ventura County and everything that we need to do to try to prevent it at the same time, whether it's public health, each one of these things. But because of our schedule, we still have two other items that are 10:30 time certain items. That's a Sexual Awareness Month, Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and then purchase of real property. I'm going to suggest this to the board members. The purchase of real property, that's Public Works 10 minutes, and Public Works being staff, can we just do that after the APCD meeting? Is that any problem? All right, great. And then the people that are here for the Sexual Assault Awareness Month, it says 5 minutes. Is it really a 5-minute presentation? Who's here for that? Actually, I know who's here for that. Rachel Lambert, Erica Estrada, and Nicole Kanke. Is that a 5-minute presentation?
No, probably more like 3 or 4.
Great, all right. But so we'll do that before APCD, and people from APCD, if we can ask for your patience while we do the Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and then if we'll postpone item 25, the 10:30 item, until after the APCD meeting. And I'm just trying to think of what's going to be the best thing. The best thing for us would be, as soon as the APCD meeting is, for us to just hear that, so that then you're done, because all we'll have is closed session after that. So, well, yeah, thank you. Standing committee will go up 10 minutes late for standing committee, Mr. Villegas, from APCD, and then we'll go in a closed session after that, okay? So if it works for everybody, we're going to hear item 24. We're going to postpone 25 till after APCD. We're going to postpone standing committee until after item 25, right? And there we go, right? Okay, thank you very much. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, since I think we have quite a bit of overlap with people here. Let's do the Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and then I'll come down for both pictures if we could. Rachel Lambert, Erica Estrada, and Nicole Kanki, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And again, we're sorry to have to feel like we're rushing any of these items, but that's where we are.
Thank you. In the packets that I've given you, there is another pin on there, and that is the teal Sexual Assault Awareness ribbon. I want to thank you for your help in spreading awareness of sexual assault with this proclamation. Sexual assault is an epidemic throughout our nation, our state, and our county, and it's growing. The Coalition for Family Harmony has been providing services for victims since 1976. We provide advocacy and accompaniment services to victims 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We also offer 10 free individual counseling sessions for victims of sexual abuse and non-offending family members or support persons. We offer support groups for women in both English and Spanish, as well as groups for male survivors that are fee-free. Between 2010 and 2013, we saw a 107% increase in the victims of sexual abuse that we served in Ventura County. In the last 6 months alone, we have worked with 210 victims. Keep in mind that while we have worked with 210 victims, 40% of sexual assaults are reported. That means for every one person that we've worked with, there's at least one more person that will never receive our services because they don't know that they're available. Victims of sexual abuse are much more likely to experience symptoms of PTSD, depression, and anxiety. They are more likely to have suicidal thoughts and attempt to end their lives. Of the 210 victims that we saw in the last 6 months, over half of them are under 18. Over half.
Over half of them are in what?
Under 18 years old.
Wow.
This means that the children and youth in our county are at very high risk, 3 times more than national average under 18. The only way that we can ever change this, and the only way that we can ever protect them, is to create awareness, is to look at the problem. We cannot hide from it. Our awareness campaigns do not stop at the end of April because we know that we have to fight this every day, every moment of our lives. Again, I want you to thank you for your support in this tremendous fight, and thank you for taking the time to help us spread awareness so that we can continue to fight against this epidemic and help those that are victims of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Did you have something you wanted to say also?
Are you targeting the schools? Are you targeting
Yes,
schools?
we do prevention education in the schools, and we're trying to reach all of Ventura County. We're mostly in West County right now, but we are trying to get out to East County.
Just two quick comments here as we're trying to move. Number one, another very important topic, and I mean each one of these things, they're serious issues, and when we do have to make sure that at least annually we keep rededicating ourselves to going forward. And so I know we have people that you're working with to try to make sure that that happens, and if you'll pass on our appreciation from the board. But the second thing, it just kind of comes to my mind, think of how many of these issues, the answer is always the same, which is we have to increase awareness, we have to increase education. And I think one of the challenges we have is to try to find improved ways to communicate with the public some of these key pieces of information that I think are the ways to increase awareness. And I don't know what that answer is, but I think it's something that we should put on our collective agendas and come up with some consistent way to be able to get this information out in an ever-changing, world with all the social technology, with all the technology and social media and all of that. But, think of that many children under 18 abused, and we had child abuse as the topic right before this, and we know that those children in terms of the risk. So thank you all very much. I wish we didn't have this thing jammed up against some other meeting, the Air Pollution Control District meeting. I'm going to come down for the pictures. I have a question for Mr. Villegas. We have some people in the audience that want to speak on item 25. That's a Simi Valley real property purchase. Can you give us an estimate from your professional judgment how long you think the APCD meeting will last? Just for their benefit, so they have a rough idea of how long.
I think we can work through everything, including the closed session, in 25 minutes.
You're talking about, including the closed session. So we're going to have a closed session on top of that. All right, so approximately a half hour. We'll be back for item 25. Let's do the picture here for both of these resolutions. And APCD people can start to get themselves organized up here. Thank you very much.
And thank you all. Those are both good reports. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to call the board back into session for item 25. And if there's anybody out in the lobby, you'll want to come in for this item. And we're ready. Item 25, staff.
Chair Bennett, members of the board, Keith Filligar, Public Works, Real Estate Service. The item before you is a hearing on whether to go forward with purchase of 101 Cochran Street in Simi Valley. At this time, staff is recommending we do not go forward with the purchase. It came to my attention in late March that there were CC&Rs on this property. The CC&Rs would restrict the county's ability to freely operate within that building. The restrictions include, originally this was built out as an industrial complex. Even though the building we're moving into is majority office, the way I read the CC&Rs, we would need approval from the board for our office use. There are provisions within the CC&Rs that would require the county to pay attorney's fees for collection of any assessments. Also subject the county to potential liability if one of our clients leaving the facility would run into somebody within the association covered property. The county would be on the hook to indemnify in the event the insurance didn't cover anybody that was harmed there. There's the ability for the association to actually perform inspections on our building. And we talked about the possibility of removing these, however, or reducing the impact on our particular property. There are provisions within the CC&Rs that say you can't modify them to the extent that you eliminate the original intent of that document. And for those reasons, we're recommending we don't go forward. We are given exemptions through state statutes and the courts from local planning and zoning laws because the board needs the option of sometimes making tough decisions with the use of their property, and to buy a property that would take your board's ability to do that away, we don't think is prudent.
Okay, thank you. Before I turn to the public speakers, do we have any questions for staff? All right, we have, I only have one public speaker. I thought there was more than that, but Willa Sandmeyer.
Thank you very much for making time for me. You know, I had spoken last month against the county making this move, and I just want to thank all of you and the county staff for looking at this again very closely. I don't want to imply in any pompous way that it was simply my testimony that caused that second look. I'm not saying that.
Oh, the power
but,
of the...
But I just want to thank all of you and thank the staff for taking a closer look at this and deciding that perhaps this was not the best move for our county and for taxpayers. I love being a resident of this county, and I love the efficient way and the frugal way in which we manage our business. Thank you very much.
That's it for public speakers and board members. Any comments? If not, we're ready for a motion. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept staff's recommendation. Correct, right? All right. And we're ready to vote. All righty, and I hope we'll check out the CCNRs early on the next building, right? Okay, all right.
I didn't think these buildings had those kind. No, you wouldn't think so.
Call the meeting back to order. We're coming out of closed session, and our county council has an announcement to make.
Yes, we have an announcement on items 27 and 33. They're related cases. One is on behalf of the County of Ventura, and the other is on behalf of the Watershed Protection District. They're both anticipated litigation, and in those items, the board authorized county council to initiate litigation, the details of which will be available once a lawsuit is filed and served upon request. And the vote of the board was 4-1, Supervisor Foy voting no. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.